We have been looking at this idea around what does it mean to live boldly? What does it mean to be our authentic self? To let go of the ideas of who we should be, to become the person that's inside wanting to be expressed. And so it's been a wonderful journey for me and hopefully for you. I don't know. I'm glad you're here. I always say, I only ever talk to myself. I just let you listen in. And so if you get some value out of that, that's great. But to learn to live from that place that recognizes the truth of who we are. I would suggest to you that we are spiritual beings, that we are created out of that infinite and divine intelligence that is wanting to express itself more fully through its creation. If you think about what is happening in our universe, there is an intelligence that is expressing through everything. Through you, through me, through all of creation. I was sharing with the earlier service that I'm becoming a Utahn. And so, I know. I'm embracing the culture. And so I decided Pioneer Day, baby, I'm all over it. Got my gingham skirt. No, I decided what better way to celebrate Pioneer Day than to go horseback riding. And so I went up to Sundance and took a trail ride out there with them, and just it was remarkable. My new best friend Cook and I went, and a bunch of other folks went along, and so we were riding along, and I don't know if you've been out in that part of, but it is stunningly, amazingly beautiful. And it's remarkable. I was trying to take pictures, but I was a little challenged by the horse. The horse was fine. I was actually really challenged by the iPhone, if you want to know. I was like, now I got the new one. You got to put your little finger on there, and you can't see. And it was like, okay. So I've got these really odd pictures that was supposed to be of something that was really beautiful. But if you've ever seen that, there's this place called Stewart Falls, and there's this amazing waterfall that just falls into this canyon, and the aspen are quaking, and the sun is shining, and I'm on a horse. So life is good and pure as it gets for me. And I was thinking about this amazing, opulent universe in which we live. This amazing creative intelligence that caused all of life to be. And I was particularly struck, I'm fascinated by waterfalls, because it seems to me they should run out of water. Right? Water's, it's fairly dry here, and all this water is just pouring and cascading down, and yet it doesn't. Because we live in a universe that is flowing and full and wonderful. And it made my heart sing as I was just kind of having this moment of oneness with reality and thinking, how easy it is to miss the beauty of our lives sometimes, the magnificence, and to tell these stories that we like to tell sometimes about our inadequacy or our littleness or our whatever our current story is. And it just reminded me that we live in an opulent and abundant and beautiful universe. And we must wake up to that awareness. We must be present for it. So living boldly is simply learning to live from that authentic divine self. To listen and allow our own inner being to be the authority in our lives. To listen when we're called to take the next step. Listen to what the divine intelligence is trying to reveal through us. We looked at that to start that journey, we need to begin to vision expansively. We have to get outside of our limited way of perceiving reality. We all do it. We all do it. We all get in a rut. Now, we like to blame the rut on other things, other people, circumstances, and situations, right? But we get into a pattern thinking, and we say, this is what's possible. But I'm going to suggest to you that all things are possible. And so when we're learning to get outside of that, we've got to expand our consciousness through visioning, through creative visualization, sometimes just in fantasy. What if? What else is wanting to be expressed? And so it all starts by that, because we realize that our lives are never bigger than our current vision. I know. Our lives aren't bigger than our current vision. And so if we're not living the life we dreamed of, it's okay. We're not done yet. There's still time. Are you breathing? If you're not breathing, there is a problem. I'll just tell you. If you're still breathing, there's still time. So we expand our capacity and we sense that. But vision then is not enough. Vision is not the thing that gets us there. I often kind of remark that there is a school of thought, and sometimes that I find that I can kind of think magical thinking, that if I just hold this vision of possibility, then poof, everything comes into being. For a few enlightened souls, that may be so, but for the rest of us, there's going to have to be some other things that follow that. So we looked at this idea of praying deeply, which is really to have a deep spiritual practice. Prayer and meditation. I always say, for me, meditation and prayer are the in-breath and the out-breath. When I'm in meditation, I'm breathing in, I'm listening, I'm allowing the divine to be experienced. And when I'm breathing out, I'm praying affirmatively. I'm recognizing the truth of who I am. I'm recognizing the reality that is all around me. You see, we approach prayer. There's many different kinds of prayer. And I always say, any prayer is better than no prayer at all, right? Sometimes my good Christian friends want to pray for me. I'm like, couldn't hurt, couldn't hurt, So I don't want to argue about that, but we practice a particular form of prayer we call affirmative prayer. And it is that recognition that we're not trying to change something. We're trying to recognize what is. If you think about it, the universe is fully orbed. Peace, love, joy, abundance, all good exists. There's nothing you can add to it, nothing you can take away from it. So it is not about trying to get God to change her mind. See how enlightened I've become? Change her mind and give you what you want. Rather, it's about recognizing and changing our own minds about that which is. If I'm not experiencing abundance in my life, it's not because abundance doesn't exist. The waterfall does not stop flowing because I don't think there's enough. It is about awakening to what is. If I'm not at peace, it's not because peace doesn't exist. If I'm not at harmony, it's not because harmony doesn't exist. You see, our form of prayer is to recognize the divine reality and to call that forth. To recognize wholeness is the order of the day. To call that forth and to allow that to be expressed. So this takes a little bit of work. It takes a little bit of practice. You have to do it more than once. I know, you knew there was a catch, right? We looked about giving generously, giving of ourselves. You see, in Khalil Gibran has this beautiful line in the Prophet where he says, when you give of your money, you give of little. But when you give of yourself, you give your all. And I love that. Now, I know some of you who are, what's the word I want to say? Cheap. And I know you heard me, what I just said, and you're going to be like, Marty, just last week you said we don't have to give of our money. We just have to give of ourselves. Here I am. Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying you still have to give your money. Don't get me wrong. But there's this wonderful place of giving from the overflow. This wonderful place of giving from who we are. And so whether it's in giving of our money, are we giving with joy and fulfillment, recognizing we're participating in a flow? If we're giving of our service, are we giving from a place of understanding that we bring forth greater good through our service to others? We get into an awareness of this idea of sacred service. If we're giving of ourselves, are we giving of our talent in places? Are we asking ourselves the question, what can I bring forward here? What can I give? For me, it's very instrumental. Jesus said to us, it is better to give than to receive. Now hear me, he did not say it was bad to receive. It is important that we learn to be gracious receivers as well. But it is the giving that gets the process flowing. It is the giving that starts that cycle. You can watch this yourself. If you go into a situation and you say, what can I take from it? The energy quickly withdraws. But when you go into a situation giving of yourself, it cannot help but come back to you. And a new cycle begins and flow begins to unfold and things get moving. So we want to give generously of our time, our talent, our essence of who we are. We looked at the idea that we need to forgive freely. You see, we can't move forward in our life as long as we keep ourselves tied to the past. I don't care whose fault it was. I don't care how justified you are. For me, I realized that those who I did not forgive were just fine. My life crumbled, but they were fine. So it seemed to me that perhaps I needed to change the equation, and I needed to begin to forgive freely, to release people, to release myself for my unskilled behavior. You see, the way any of us gets to skilled behavior is through unskilled behavior, yes? Yes. And so we don't have to make ourselves wrong as long as we're learning the lesson. Now, if we're still doing it, then, it's time to change. But we can forgive ourselves freely. And I find that when I forgive myself freely, it becomes very easy to forgive other people. I don't know if you've noticed this. Maybe it's just me. But sometimes the things that annoy me the most about other people, if I'm really willing to be honest, it's about them. For those of you not as involved in me, it's probably about you. But for me, no. Right? The things that I don't want to see in myself, I see so clearly in other people. So I forgive myself, I forgive them, and I learn and I grow and I become. We looked at choosing wisely, that every moment of our lives is a moment of choice. Not that we get to choose everything that happens to us, but that we do get to choose our response to what's happening in our world. And moment by moment, we're faced with our choices. When I become powerless is when I allow myself to move into that victim mentality that thinks life is happening to me. I become powerful when I move into the awareness that I'm at choice. I may not even like the choices that are in front of me, but my power comes from my capacity to make powerful choices, to own that it is my life, that I am, in fact, the common denominator of everything else that happens in my life. So how do I show up? Do I choose more love? Do I choose to forgive? Do I choose to be a presence of peace? Aaron's going to sing my favorite prayer at the end of this service, and it's a reminder that we're at choice of who we will become. So today, a very long introduction, but today, I want to give you the most boring talk that you will ever hear. No, the talk's good. The topic, not so exciting. And probably the most important tool, and it is called practice consistently. There's a wonderful thing in our culture, and it is called immediate gratification. We are bombarded with messages. 90-second abs. I have been on a program for 7 months of diligent nutrition, exercise, all of these good things that healthy people do. And I can tell you after 7 months, I'm beginning to see definition in places that definition has not been seen in a very long time. I'm not really buying the 90-second abs. I'm not buying the buns of steel, We live in a culture that promotes an idea over and over and over that we're one pill, one solution, one thing away. And of course, if you'll buy it today. In fact, if you order now, we're going to throw in a double gift for you. Right? We're bombarded with that message. And people that are saying, I should be farther along in my life. I've been studying this stuff for a while. I was listening to my friend Linda saying, I've been practicing this for 22 years. People say, I wish I could pray like Audrey. She's been praying. She's been a practitioner for 23 years. People say, I wish I could speak like you. I say, great, just go give 2,000 talks. It helps. Right? Wish I could sing like Aaron. Take a voice lesson, right? There's no magic pill. It's a very ongoing practice. And yet so often we find ourselves discouraged. We find ourselves like we should be further along. We should have better results. I can't believe this is happening in my life. By God, I took that course. In 1985. Wonder why it didn't work for you. You see, we are bombarded with messages over and over and over in this way of thinking, where we're saying, I always like to say, you got to decide whether you're going to be an innie or an outie. Are you going to live from the outside coming in and make your decisions, or are you going to live from the inside out? Are you going to be self-generative? Are you going to be the type of person that wakes up in the morning and decides what kind of day you're going to have? And rather than letting the day determine what kind of experience you're going to have. And so when we are realizing this, we realize that that is not a prevalent message. You're going to be inspired today. You're going to feel good about yourself, and that's a very good thing. You're going to go to work tomorrow. And some of the people may not have got the memo. Some of the people are going to get you over in the corner, and they're going to want to talk to you about your boss and his latest reason why he's a jerk, right? Or you're going to get on the news and you're going to watch the news. And I tell you, watching the news right now, I say do it in very small doses. It is kind of crazy making. But if you're going to do this work, it's important that we support ourselves consistently over and over and over in the reaffirmation of truth. So we read, we study, we pray, we forgive, we meditate, we do all of the things necessary. And one of the most important practices we can develop consistently is the practice of gratitude. The practice of waking up in the morning and giving thanks for the blessings in our lives. The other thing I notice about our culture is no matter how much you have, there's still more you don't. Have you thought about this? You may have the super duper fabulous car. There's a more expensive one out there. You may have it all together, but there's a bigger house. Have you bought your island yet? I used to joke about living in Sun Valley, Idaho, and where there's some very prosperous people who have these amazing houses. 10,000 square feet, 12,000 square feet, 15,000 square feet. Vacation homes. Right? I'm thinking, wonder what the real house looks like. If this is your cabin, what does the big house look like? There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not making it wrong. I'm just saying there's always more. I remember, I've told this story before, but I was driving this beautiful area called Greenhorn Gulch. There's amazing homes, just beautiful, gorgeous homes. And, these are 10, 12, 15,000 square foot homes, 6 bedrooms kind of things. And as I was driving by, I noticed this home, beautiful, gorgeous. and they were putting on an addition. And I was like, what did you forget? The golf course? I mean, I don't know what else do you add, right? Again, I'm not making it wrong. I'm just saying there will always be more. And if we're not careful, if we're not paying attention to our lives, we can get into that mentality that thinks that more is more, instead of recognizing that this moment is sufficient unto itself. See, isn't that what Jesus was trying to teach us? That when we recognize that we live in the divine presence, when we are grateful for that, when we open our hearts and our minds to the reality that is, sufficient unto the moment is itself. That sometimes giving is for the joy of giving. Service is for the joy of service. Being is for the joy of being. And we can be in that place more and more of the time. It takes practice consistently. We're all familiar with the story of the tortoise and the hare. We all grew up on that story. And about time we were 6, we forgot about that story. But you see, the people that I see really move ahead in life are the ones that keep practicing. A friend of mine, a real estate coach, when I was doing real estate, I had the privilege of working with his program, and he said something to me, me and 2,500 of my closest friends, said to me, people wildly underestimate what they can or wildly overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, and radically underestimate what they can accomplish in 10. You see, when we get into this thing that we want to have our spiritual results now. I went to church in 1985. I took the course, remember? Right? I prayed for 5 minutes. I did whatever. It's the consistency of day in and day out. I can tell you, and my own practice, I've been working on taking better care of the body, practicing self-care. And so 7 months ago, I really got serious about this. And I had already tried the 90-second abs about 5 times. It never worked. Right? And I realized somebody told me, gave me a gem of information. And they said, having a gym membership is great, but actually going inside the gym is actually better. Who knew, right? That you actually have to practice. You can read all kinds of books, but it's moving into the practice. And so in doing that, I've done all kinds of things, but I'm really kind of grooving on having this physical body again, having that be part of my life. And so I was sharing that my latest thing is swimming. I'm just so into swimming right now. And so kind of my benchmark every time I jump in the pool is a mile, which happens to be 72 links. Yes, I know. And so, because I know my mind, if I get in the pool and go, okay, just 71 more to go, then all of a sudden I remember an appointment that I must, right? So what I figured out is you break it down. So my program is now, I do a set. And a set is 6 links freestyle, 6 links of breaststroke, 6 links of backstroke. That's one set. You do 4 of those, you've done a mile. So all I have to do is 4. How hard could 4 be, right? And then sometimes when I 4, I'm like, 5 feels good. 6 is better. I'll let you know when I get there. I'm working on getting up to 2 miles. Right? Now, I know you think I'm amazing. You're right. I'm usually more boastful than this, just so you know, Aaron. No, no, it's not about me, but it's about that practice. I didn't start there. I started. You see, that's what we need to get. We got to start. And then you take the next step. and you take the next step, and you take the next step, and all of our good cycles back onto itself. I always say, if we do the things that make us feel better, we'll feel better. I know. Who knew? I can't tell you how many years I spent time doing stuff that made me feel bad, thinking that somehow I'd feel better. God, I had a hamburger last night, about died. I was like, right? So it's all about the consistency of the practice. It's about showing up day in and day out. It's about doing it even when you don't feel like it. The thing that I know now that I'm into this program is now it's like brushing my teeth. If I haven't got my exercise in, I'm like, something's wrong. Oh, I didn't brush my teeth. No, right? It is about doing the things that are necessary. So I know this is not the most glamorous or exciting topic. But of all of the things we've talked about, it's probably the most important. Showing up consistently to do the work. Showing up for cushion time. There's a Buddhist phrase that I've always loved that says, enlightenment is an accident. Meditation makes us accident prone. You see, it's so true. We don't know when the moment of our awareness happens. But we do know that if we do certain things, if we practice praying deeply, if we practice visioning expansively, if we practice forgiveness, if we practice serving and giving and being in the flow, there comes a moment which I was just reminded of this week on a horseback, looking at God's grandeur, going, wow, what an amazing life this is. Not all my problems went away, but it gave it perspective that this is an amazing life. And each one of us is a once-in-a-lifetime unique experience the divine is having of itself. Are we awake? Are we aware? Are we ready? Are we willing to allow that greater life to be birthed through it? So I invite you, my friends, keep living boldly. Keep doing the things that work to support you in knowing the truth. And keep practicing consistently. Let us pray. As we turn inward, honoring and acknowledging this one divine life, this one infinite power, this one creative intelligence that is the very life and essence of all that is. It is that infinite wisdom that pours itself into creation, that has created this amazing planet, causes the waterfalls to fall, the breezes to blow, the flowers to grow, and life to continue to reveal itself through all of creation. It is this very same intelligence that is beating itself through our hearts, that is breathing itself through our lungs, that is coursing through our veins through its blood. We are one with this divine life. And so in this moment, we open our hearts to the presence of unconditional love. We open our minds to infinite wisdom. We're allowing ourselves to experience the spiritual reality that is always existent. We are saying yes to it. I'm knowing for each of us gathered here that there is but one presence, and that presence is the presence of wholeness. And that wholeness reveals itself as health, as well-being, as vitality through every cell and every system. I'm knowing that there is one presence, and that presence is the presence of abundance, that which is always self-generative. And that it is in this presence that we live, move, and have our being. So we must be, by our very nature, abundant beings. We choose to graciously give and receive of the divine bounty. We allow ourselves to experience divine flow. I'm knowing there is one presence, and that presence is the presence of divine love. And it is this presence of divine love that heals and transforms our hearts, our minds, and our very lives. As we enter into that state of grace, of unconditional love, of acceptance, We find it very easy to forgive freely, to let go of that which no longer serves us. We allow our relationships to be healed and transformed through the power of this divine love. And so I just invite you in this holy and sacred moment that if there is a burden on your heart, an area that is calling forth for light, let there be light. Let there be love. Let there be joy. Let there be harmony. Let there be peace. How good it is to know this truth as we recognize that we are indeed blessed beings, that this life has been freely given to us, and so we joyously accept it. We are grateful and we give thanks for the many blessings in our lives. We bless this community, this spiritual community that is growing and becoming and moving forward in ways of peace and joy and love and harmony and abundance. So grateful for spiritual community. We bless our brothers and sisters around the planet. We bless the planet itself. We're holding that high watch, that high vision for a world that is transcendent of war, where the brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity is recognized, honored, and celebrated. We wish goodwill for all of our brothers and sisters around the planet. And as always, we bless that where two or more are gathered, there is the presence of the I Am. We honor and celebrate the many pathways to divine understanding. We bless all priests, rabbis, ministers, teachers of every faith, for we know there is but one God. And we honor and celebrate the many pathways. How good it is to come together in this spiritual awareness and understanding. Grateful that life is unfolding through us. And so in joy and gratitude then, I'm simply giving thanks. I'm releasing this word. I'm knowing that it is so, as together we say, and so it is.